Welcome everybody to the Area 111 live stream. That's 3 ones, okay? In case people get discombobulated as far as all those ones, right? 111, team one, the winning team, first place team. That would be those of us in our community, our community. So, anyways, um, welcome tonight. I'm going to try to keep the sound at a minimum here, so anybody that's sleeping or already, try not to wake them. So, anyways, yes, I'm going to talk about the speech tonight. A lot of people are waiting for certain types of subjects to be talked about, and I will go over that in a little bit. Okay, so stick around. I know I know what people were thinking. I go out there and scan the internet, see what's going on, right? And everybody's waiting for this speech, and it wasn't what a lot of people believed it would be. But on a certain scroll going down on we call that um, the tele whatever script, whatever the script going down on the bottom of the screen, it kind of like led us into a direction that I'm going to talk about tonight, as far as being a military guy, working in command and control facilities, not only in the United States but in other places as well. Um, there's something we always prioritize. First of all, is safety is absolutely paramount. That they drilled that into us, into our in minds. For almost every time we had a live or sim over live operation. Anytime it's involving live assets, far as any type of operation or mission goes. So, yeah, do we expect something to happen? Um, yeah, eventually, they're going to have to take out the threat, and it actually is going to be um, an operation which supports national defense. This isn't an offensive type strike. This is a defense to prevent certain types of deadly substances from entering our country and killing hundreds of thousands of more people. Okay, so we should be past that by now. We should understand the reason for you know, and let's go back and listen. Uh, I support peace probably more than any other person out there. It's unfortunate sometimes that we have to take offensive measures, but a lot of times, best defense is a good defense is the best offense. You know what I mean? So it works both ways. So, anyways, best offense is a good defense. Some people can say that too. But anyways, uh, I like to refer people to Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. All those people out there have been working tirelessly for like 11 months now to stop what's going on over there, make deals, with these people, that are in charge of certain countries. And let's just say the people in those countries, let's just say those people are victims of circumstance. A lot of those individuals are there. They were born there. They have their jobs there. Their families are there. Yeah, good to see everyone. Den Rivers, good to see you. So, yeah, Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So, what an honor it would be to be called a child of God, first and foremost, above everything. So, yeah, I'm going to wait till a little bit. So, for those that are leaving already, um, maybe they don't like me reading scriptures, but I'm a Christian. I'm not ashamed of that. I believe in God. I have faith. Faith is a blessing. having faith is a blessing, in my opinion. I hope, you know, that others acquire that too. It's a blessing. So not everyone has it. And, and that's basically all I'll say about that. Now, I do believe in prayer. So believe that everybody should, pray for our, our country and our president and, you know, and yeah, we're going to get into some of these terms a little bit. I'm going to use one example real quick. If the state the state sponsor of terrorism has basically chanted death to our country multiple times, what what do you think we're supposed to do? What do you think our government is supposed to do first and foremost? What? Make sure that that doesn't happen, right? That's one of their most prioritized objectives is in government to ensure that our country is secure and safe, where our men, women, and children can walk safe and be safe in our country, in our cities, or where, no matter where we live, especially from a foreign threat that basically has murder, I should say, or complicit in hundreds of thousands of deaths since January 20th of 2021 to January 20th of 2025. Hundreds of thousands of deaths. That's just by one chemical substance. I guess you can call it a chemical substance. So let's just say what it is. The elephant in the china shop, right? Fentanyl. I'm kind of tired of hearing the name, fentanyl this, fentanyl that, but it's a fact. Hundreds of thousands of American men, women, and children have died from that drug alone. We're not even talking about methamphetamines and all that kind of stuff and other drugs, whatever. But that's a fact. So that threat is out there. What do you think the government's priority is supposed to be? To stop that threat, right? To stop the threat from entering our country. And we're not going to broadcast, what our immediate intentions are going to be as far as to thwart that attack. We're not going to go out there and publicize it. This is not like a football game, or baseball game. Even football players, like the coaches, the offensive and defensive coaches, they have secret hand signals and all kinds of things, right? They got people run off the field and get a play and come back on the field, right? They'll call a timeout, and they'll talk about secret plans or operations, right? So they won't let the opponent know, the other team know, the opponent team, to know what they're going to actually do next. So if we know that in sports, obviously, we should know that when it comes to the military as well. So I saw a lot of constraint from the president. He wants to just go out there and tell everybody just the way it is, at least the way he sees it, right? That's the way he's built. That's the way he is. That's his character. Whether we like it or not, that's the way the man is. Oh, breaking news. Donald Trump is a man. But he's our president. I think at times like this, we need to support our president, support our president, pray for our president, pray for our country, pray for our government. So they had a Congress basically had a vote, and the Democrats tried to block Trump from going to war against Venezuela. And I heard what the Mexican president had to offer. And, I think this is kind of crazy. And I'm not saying this derogatory towards Mexican people, Mexican Americans. Obviously, we're not racist. And it's ridiculous to have to even say that. We work with our Mexican Americans that have been here for, decades and decades and decades, But anyways, we work right alongside them. They're our allies for the most part. But to offer a whatever you call it, a meeting in that country, I don't think they have control over their country yet. That would be, I would not basically entertain that offer to actually go there to talk at the table to reinstill peace. What is she going to do? Invite Maduro over too? And that's going to go really good. The guy that basically threatened to punch basically the teeth out of the mouth of America or whatever, or out of the mouth of the president, I don't think that's going to go very well. Even though I do support peace, we got to be, got to use common sense as well. Good to see you, Daniel. Good to see you. So we're going to get into this a little bit deeper than even I wanted to talk about. I just want to come on, and for those people that are kind of upset that they didn't get a couple of notifications from the president. I think there's operations going on, and we got kind of like what they call zip lip, right? Zip lip. We got our mouths shut. That's to help save American lives, save the lives of allies working with us in operations, either foreign or domestic operations, I might add. So we know what's been coming in for all those years, right? We were warning this back during the Obama period, whenever they're bringing in those refugees, whatever, you know what I mean? Bringing them in dark 30 on charter flights. We have video footage of that happening. We were warning people about it was happening. And if I remember the person's name that I used to watch that live stream from his or his podcast, if I can remember that, but they showed actually live surveillance video of those individuals coming off of chartered flights, kind of secret charter flights. They're bringing them in. So, anyways, but when you got media coverage, that has your back, or no matter what you do, bad or good, always 100% or like 99.999% of the time is positive instead of 97% of the time negative, like it has been with President Trump. We wasn't getting the information. The only real information we were getting was from former boots on the time, high speed operatives, like boots on the ground type people conducting recon, for America, for certain types of organizations outside of the government that basically were funded by large donors, I should say. Yeah, we want to know what our government's doing, what they're doing behind the scenes, especially when they're sending over pallets of cash and, that kind of thing, making deals with state sponsors of terrorism, actually terrorists. Yeah, we want to know what they're doing. So it takes, the right people for the jobs that we have, right? So anyways, OPSEC. What is RH talking about as far as OPSEC goes? I'm going to go over and visit Rumble real quick for those that are on Rumble. Stand by. those on YouTube, stand by. I'm gonna go check the audio on Rumble real quick. I'll be right back. Stand by. Okay, testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, Rumble. Testing 1, 2, Rumble. Testing 1, 2, Rumble. Testing 1, 2, Rumble. Okay, we're good on Rumble side. I'm gonna give myself a thumbs up. Maybe it'll help the algorithms. I did share the link over on True Social, but for YouTube, but I didn't share the Rumble link. Stand by. Getting back to YouTube real quick. Five by five, busy night for news. Yes, sir. Yeah. Good to see you, Ken, and good to see everybody that's coming into the live stream. If you come in later, I wish y'all would, those that come in late, because you just caught the alert or whatever, go back from the beginning, okay? So go back to the beginning of the live stream so you can get a full comprehension of what I'm talking about. Okay, remember, keyword tonight is OPSEC. Actually, those are two words. Operation Security. Those are the key two words tonight of this live stream. You can't go out there and telegraph exactly what we're going to do, especially when we have our troops' lives at stake, no matter where they are in the world. One reaction on one side of the planet could cause another reaction on another side of the planet. We're all aware of that. There's been certain type of preemptive type moves to prevent, that whatever that may happen from broadening, and I just talked about the Mexican president came and offered a peace talks in Mexico. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if she's going to have it there, but they don't have, far as my opinion, and not to be derogatory towards the Mexican Americans or anybody from Mexico. It's like everywhere else. There's victims of circumstance that people that are good people, people that want to do the right thing. A lot of us are Christians. We identify ourselves as Christians, and they're just basically, we're stuck. A lot of us are stuck, and basically we're victims of circumstance. We were victims of circumstance for 4 years under the Biden third term during their invasion. For 4 years, we were victims of circumstance. We had something that happened, as far as hindsight, perfect vision goes. I talked about in 2019, October 17th, 2019, CNN put out a article, and all actuality, it was a Moody's study from top-level economists. The title of that article CNN put out on October 17, 2019, before hindsight, perfect vision, the title of it was Democrats Need to Sharpen Their Attacks on the Trump Economy. Okay. The very next day, they told us how they're going to do that. Well, how did they tell us how they're going to do that, RH? Why don't you explain it to us? Okay. Yeah, the very next day, October 18th of 2019, they conducted a exercise called Event 201 Global Pandemic Exercise based on the new coronavirus. That's how they're going to attack Trump, our economy, the American economy. So what did President Trump talk about tonight? What did President Trump talk about? He focused on our economy, didn't he? He focused on what I support 1,000%. You can only support up to 100%. And, You can't support 103%, 110%. Yeah, okay. It's just a saying, right? I support 100% that gratuity to our men and women in uniform. $1,776. You get the gist on that? 1776. Declaration of Independence. Well, I got the message. I got the message very, 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 very clear, loud and clear. Lima Charlie, 5x5. 10-4. 10-4. Rocking the doors. What else can I say? I got the message 100% clear. The messages in part, it might have been telegraphed a little bit, like coded, whatever. But we're going to take back our economic sovereignty, our economic independence, right? So there's some people out there in the world that don't want to see that happen. They don't want to see that happen. So what else? There's things the commander-in-chief cannot say to the whole world, especially if there's certain types of operations going on with allies working together in conjunction. Now, some individuals might think, okay, well, who's our typical allies and who's our typical, we'll say opponents, adversaries, maybe, we can get a little bit, but it's definitely adversarial if you're bringing stuff in, making billions of dollars, if not more, on things that kill hundreds of thousands of Americans. That's obviously got to stop. It's obviously got to stop. During the speech, we noticed there was another strike, right? On another boat. Another boat. So another boat. One of those boats transporting something, substances in that boat, right? A speedboat, probably, I don't know, not really that little, but from the photograph, and that was pretty precision. That was a pretty precise hit. And one, like I said, I can't stand war. This is a 21st century, right? 21st century. 2025. You think those old caveman days are over, right? Where you got a club in your hand and go club everybody. You know what I mean? I guess some people, they only know one way. They only learn the lesson in one certain type of fashion. And that's defense. Oh, what's gonna say, for example, you're a boxer, right? El Nino. Say you're a boxer and you're about to go into the ring. Guy goes, man, I'm gonna bust your teeth out your mouth. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna go in there without your mouthpiece? I think not, right? I think not. You wouldn't go in there. Okay, you think the guy's going to telegraph exactly how he's going to do that? Oh, I'm going to give you a uppercut. I'm going to give you a right cross. I'm going to give you, a left arm. I mean, whatever. I'm not a boxer by profession, but I had a little short stint in the police. What do you call that? The police academy. It's not academy. You can go to, it's a certain type of thing where you can go. They have, sports, they support, the youth, whatever. I forgot the name of it, but I went there and boxed maybe one or two times, and that was it. And that was the extent of it. So a long, long, long time ago. Long time ago. So I hope y'all are catching some of these words I'm throwing out there, so you can understand. You know, we have to pray for our men and women in uniform. We have to pray for the president that he has discernment, does the right thing. You know, and I'm pretty sure he surrounds himself with good people. I'm pretty sure of it. And if we think about it, also think about all the intel the president's getting. We got boots on the ground in a lot of places out there, and they are covert, really covert. They've been not really dug in, but you wouldn't even know one of them if you saw it, if you're actually from that country. We have people in there, and we've had operations that gone on in there, and we've picked up a few things as far as pieces of paper concerned and that kind of thing. I like to remind people of the electronic ballot. Just go check it out. Electronic ballot. Okay, what is RH talking about? Electronic ballot. Let's see here. Let me go to the source so I can provide y'all the source reference to that. And it should come up right away. I want to give you all the official site. And when you look down that list, there's 31, okay, electronic ballot return. This is from you can Google search it and you can read it yourselves. National Conference of State Legislature, okay? That's the NCSL, okay? This article or this information as far as elections and campaigns refers to electronic ballot return. And I like to remind people we have over 700 military bases abroad, which means it's not on U.S. soil. Okay. Then we have to add to that all the U.S. embassies overseas, all the, what do you call it? The embassies and there's consulates, and all the contractors working overseas, not only the military, but civilian contractors working all overseas. Guess what? Where's the oversight? They can get their ballot, and pretty much anybody on the inside can get their ballots actually emailed to them, or actually have the paper, the actual official ballot, and they can have those emailed, and you can email them back. So look at 31 states, and if there's a national emergency or national health emergency, remember, hindsight, perfect vision, they were basically getting the ballot offline, printing out blank, and filling them in. Okay? Now use your imagination. This was rampant. We already had people that were contractors working for the United States Post Office or Postal Service. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. And what's up with Tina Peters? So let me get back and refresh the live streams before I lose them real quick. So don't leave yet. I haven't actually talked them the gist of what I'm gonna try to convey tonight. And hold on a second. Yeah, 1776 was something very big. Now, there's a lot of chatter, not not just like kind of like chatter in the background, but actually direct statements made by certain types of disgruntled people as a group, like in states, kind of like thing, or what do you call them up there? Um, that basically want to join the United States of America and have their reestablish their sovereignty. Now, let me just say this again, and a lot of people may or may not know it. For the most part, we shouldn't take for granted what the children are being taught nowadays, or even people that are, say, a lot younger than us, but they're adults. We can't take for granted what they've been taught, especially in public schools. So, um, yes, we can't take for granted. That's an understatement. We, each state in our union, okay, let me just read Article 4, Section 4. I haven't memorized. The United States shall guarantee to each state in this union a republican form of government and ensure against invasion and against domestic violence. That gives the commander in chief and the president of the United States full authority to secure us persons, us secure our homes, help secure our homes, and help secure our streets. That's one of the main jobs of the government, our United States government. And each state in this union, all 50 states, is a sovereign state, like a country. That's what a republic is. And it helps protect the minorities too. This is a very, very, very important statement to make because they don't teach this in public education. They flood the zone with the democracy statement. Their democracy. This country is not made on a democracy. If you can go back and look at the founding fathers, you'll hear a lot of quotes directly from the founding fathers. The reason why they did not allow and set up our country or found our country on a democracy, because basically, if you do that, you're going to have like the pitchforks out there, and these huge mobs going at people, and that's exactly what happened. That's what the Biden third term helped facilitate and direct into our country with the invasion. 25 million people. Now, President Trump threw out that number, 25 million people. Okay, listen to numbers, okay? We have to listen to numbers. And remember, sometimes the president can't say everything he wants to say. So 25 million, let's just go with that number. 25 million people. 25 million, there's not a standing army or military as a whole in any country that even meets half of that requirement. Last time I checked. Yeah, you can bring a lot of civilians, like for those countries that have over 1 billion people, like India, China, countries with a huge population. Yeah, you can bring in a civilian. What do you call that? I forgot the name of it, but if y'all can remember the name, I appreciate it. A civilian, like militants, right? They can bring them in, and so I don't think that some certain countries are trained into that, so they wouldn't be as professional. In a lot of countries, they don't have the money to appropriately train people on new technology, like, certain types of fighter bomber type aircraft, or, electronic, what do you call it? Jamming, that kind of thing. There's all types of technology that our military is very adverse in, and basically they are the experts at implementing these special technology for our military to keep our men and women in uniform safe and our population safe. So that's all I'll go with that. All I'll say about that. But anyways, 25 million people, say it's just half of those people that they can be called up, whether they're domestic or foreign. We're talking about people in other countries, to what their capabilities are, right? So we have to think about all kinds of capabilities. Even if we think, okay, well, we have the strongest military, that's a statement. That's a statement that's put out there saying you mess around, right? This is what we have. We can't put up with this anymore. Yeah, I wasn't really that disappointed, T3, but yeah, I know there's a lot of expectations, especially with Tina Peters is concerned. As far as that goes, he pardoned her, and the governor's still keeping her as a political prisoner. For example, that's one thing, and a lot of people is thinking about that country with a letter Victor in front, and they was expecting the president to go out there and make some statements, like it has begun or whatever. We can't telegraph that. We can't telegraph that to the enemy, because that could basically jeopardize the lives of our men and women in uniform, and possibly allies as well, working in that theater and other theaters as well. So action, reaction, right? What are they going to do, right? So they game this out pretty good, and I'm pretty certain they're going to take the right time to do this, but they're going to eliminate the threat. What is the threat? The president of the United States already addressed the threat, right? And we saw it on the screen on the bottom, on the tele uh, television on the bottom, the little, what do you call that little strip of information that's going across the bottom? Yeah, we took out another boat, right? We took out another boat to prevent thousands, if not more, of our people being murdered, literally murdered. So I'm going to bring this up real quick because it's very important. At least it is for me. In Hillsborough County and Polk County, Florida, we've seen a uptick in a lot of these trails up in our skies, and there are a lot of people getting strokes, young people getting strokes. I'm talking young people in their 30s and 50s. I consider them a man or woman, a healthy man or woman in the 50s. That's kind of like shocking to be getting strokes. And as y'all may or may not have heard, somebody close to me, very, very good person, had a stroke on September 1st. Okay. And yeah, people can say, okay, that individual had high blood pressure, but still, will you add, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but I do know that aluminum is bad. It's bad business. If they're spraying aluminum up in our skies for whatever reason, that could cause, some type of cognitive issues, memory problems, possibly strokes. I don't know. I'm not putting out medical advice. I'm not a doctor. This is just my own experiences. I've shared the pictures multiple times. I can share them again. The most obvious one that I have, and they just did this a couple weeks ago. So I thought they were supposed to put a stop of that. in Florida. So now, when the budget is basically they've planned out the budget in advance, if there are contractors still conducting these overflights and dispersing these aerosols, stratospheric aerosols into our skies, and it has stuff that basically causes problems with our health and our lives, those people should be held accountable. Okay. They should be held accountable. So anyways, now that avatar photograph should be popping up anytime now on the screen. So let me basically fast forward. So please don't leave the live stream. I'm going to make this short, so I'm not going to be really long-winded tonight. So I just want y'all to get the message. Now, there's about, I think, in Canada, there's 3, what do they call those? They don't call them states up there, right? They're talking about joining the United States of America to have sovereignty, to have their own independence. And I was getting into how our country was founded. We were founded as a republic to prevent or to help the minorities. Now, a lot of people know or don't know this. Each state in our union, all 50 states, they have 2 senators. 2 senators. No matter how big the population is for each one of our states, each state has an equal amount of senators to represent them. We're talking about U.S. senators, okay? U.S. senators to represent them as far as the United States federal government is concerned. So let's go back to Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. The United States guarantees to each state in this union a republican form of government and ensure against invasion and ensure against domestic violence. Okay, so what have we all seen? All going back to the summer of love and all that stuff. When they take over, what do? They're not following the Constitution. They go out there and jibber jab. They run their mouth all they want to. These people, a lot of them, they need to be probably in Gitmo right now for what they've done. I don't care who likes that statement. It's a truthful statement. If any one of us had done any of this, anything remotely compared to what they've done to us, I mean, we would be in prison right now. Just example like Tina Peters, right? Doing her job and exposing what she exposed up in Colorado. I won't go into that tonight. People going to argue with that. I don't want to argue with it. They gave her a 9-year prison sentence. 9 years. Some people were basically arrested and given 22 years for J6, and they wasn't even there. Wasn't even there. They showed us, right? That's malicious prosecution. How many people raise their hand? Let me know. How many people out there know that's a crime? Malicious prosecution? It's a crime. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're a judge or whatever, a rigged jury, whatever. I don't think the jury's going to get in trouble, because especially if they give them a menu with a lot of ways they can basically charge the president, former president. That's so ridiculous. I never heard of any of this stuff before my entire life until our president came along, right? And one in 2016, one again 2025. 45, 46, and 47. What does that mean? Yeah, okay, people can say, okay, he was the commander in chief. He had the soccer ball or whatever, right? And they call it football over there, right? So he had the soccer ball. Yeah, maybe you have that information. I don't. And I don't know. It's a possibility. I know that they quarantined, basically nobody could leave. NORAD, that certain type of facility over there. I worked for NORAD for a while, command and control. So, tracking technician, tracking supervisor, and was promoted in position to tracking officer for a short time before I was stationed another place. So, anyways, yeah, look at those contrails. Look at those natural contrails, right? That's what they want to tell us they are contrails, right? No, wrong. So, anyways, I won't go into that. That's not really the talk tonight, but there's a lot of people that are coming down with strokes, young people in Polk County and Hillsborough County, Florida. And I thought they were supposed to stop that. So if they're paid already for the flights to try to help it rain, but we need to take air samples. We need to take air samples and ground samples, the proper people that are qualified to see what the hell they're spraying in our skies. You can't have a sovereign country without control of the airspace. Think about Venezuela. Do they have control of the airspace? We don't know. We don't know because they're not telegraphing the whole picture. What do they call that? Radar tracker or tracker radar or whatever. Those sites like that, they'll shut them down. They won't shut those sites down, but they won't be doing certain things that they can pop up on the radar, right? You're not going to see them. This goes all the way back. I think the first time it was used in could have been used in other covert operations that I don't know about, but in January 17th, 1991, a stealth aircraft took out communication arrays right there in the presidential palaces area. What do you call that? Compounds, right? So they were taken out immediately. And if you remember that, they were just firing just blindly in the skies because they didn't know what hit them. The first 30 minutes, if that, of that war basically was won through air superiority. They had no communication on the ground. You can also say superiority, ground superiority, not as well as air superiority. And when you're trying to liberate a country, you know, sometimes you have to go boots on the ground, unfortunately, and that can cause a lot more lives. Obviously, that's a common sense statement. So, SITREP. President Trump gave his SITREP a situation report of our country tonight. That was one of the main reasons. So listen, and then you saw on the screen on the bottom, the little strip of words going across the bottom that we took out another one of those boats. Okay, so and there's threats of activating a civilian militia by Maduro, and we understand that. Yeah, he's doing everything he can. So I guess he's worried about being something like I'm not going to even say it. It's inappropriate. I don't believe in saying stuff like that, but yeah, it is what it is. Stand by. I'm going to change this back. So stealth, right? Stealth far as comms count. comms are concerned, stealth far as radar is concerned, stealth far as pretty much everything, land, air, and sea, and space stealth, right? So stealth, and we got to realize what other type of opponents or adversarial countries also have that we've had activity we've been tracking or whatever we've been watching, so things like that can't roll along like a lot of people think, it's going to happen. Remember how many times they warned the president of Iraq, you got to let in the inspectors and that kind of thing. And for the people that believe after Desert Storm that Saddam Hussein was going to sit around a campfire with us and sing Kumbaya, I'm sorry, but that. Yeah, I don't like I said, we shouldn't have had to get in that war to begin with. He shouldn't have been what do you call that? Sword rattling. When he took out his sword and all that, was rattling his sword, waving it up in there, and had his rifle, out and all that stuff, and sword rattling throughout all that time. Think about it, from basically 91 after Desert Storm ended, right? We had the armistice. It wasn't a peace. I think it was just an armistice, right? And we had the northern, southern no-fly zones going on for about what was it, 12 years after that? And we didn't go back in until what, 2003? So think about that. Over a decade. They had warnings to let the inspectors go in. So I'm not an inspector. I don't know how many we went into. I mean, there's some people out there that are experts. Some people claim they're experts. I know that some people are. I'm not saying all of them aren't experts, but yeah, the inspectors. All he had to do was let the inspectors to come in, and all those people would not have been needlessly killed in that war. It's just that simple. Okay. By the way, so they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. I don't know. There's a lot of talk about Gilgamesh. I won't talk about that tonight, but it's kind of a certain type of possible weapon that Gilgamesh may have or may not have had. But if you look at the technology, as far as the pyramids goes, and these huge megalithic or mega like structures, that even our own engineers can't even put together today ourselves, and that type of accuracy, So, anyways, I mean, just think about the stones that they had to move. Some of them like hundreds of tons, right? We don't even have like a crane that can lift up some of those stones. And how will they put in place? So I won't go into that anymore. There's a lot more there than what we have. And I like people to think about Joseph in the Bible. Okay. Joseph was a son of Jacob, who Jacob later became Israel, right? So I want y'all to check this out real quick. And I'm going to go to this. It's very, very interesting. And we're talking about technology. And angels, the fallen angels, they would be aliens, far as we're concerned, let's see, let me go to this real quick. Okay. This is Revelation chapter 7, beginning with verse 4. Okay. Okay, just listen to this. And I want y'all to listen to the name Manasseh, and I want you to listen to the name of Joseph, and I want y'all to listen for what you don't hear. You don't hear Ephraim, right? Ephraim. Revelation chapter 7, beginning with verse 4. And remember, I'm not adding or taking away from this scripture. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zabulon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. Okay, if you go to Genesis chapter 49, you can verify it. Okay, God gave Joseph another half portion, right? So he gave him another portion. Do we know who Manasseh is? Where did Manasseh, the tribe of Manasseh, migrate to? United States of America. What became the United States of America? Remember the blessing? Manasseh would be one great nation. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remember? One great nation. That's Manasseh. Ephraim was going to be greater as far as the amount of nations that joined Ephraim. And we're talking about the other English speaking nations. Ephraim, Great Britain, right? Or let's say, um, let's say, United Kingdom. Let's just use it in those terms. Remember all the English speaking nations? That was the due to the migration. Okay, so there's something very important, very important in that message. And we got to remember our covenant. We got to keep our covenant. Well, you know, I'm not a Jewish person. I'm not. But we do know what's right from wrong. If we're adult age, right? We know what's right, what's wrong. Is murder right? Obviously not. Is stealing other people's stuff? Is that right? No. Coveting after someone else's wife or whatever, that's wrong, right? Uh, Stealing's wrong. False witnessing, lying about people. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not false witness. What is that one? You know, when the Congress votes on a certain bill or resolution, what do they do when they're voting for a bill or resolution? What are they doing? What are they actually doing when they vote for it? They're marking up. They're marking up something or marking down something. Um, so we have to we have to consider the possibility that that mark might be broader than what we actually believe it is. Now, we know I talked about silent screen quite often for years. For years, I talked about it. I had high level Christian leaders come to me, warn me about a certain guy in 2008, not 2008, not 2008, but actually, yeah, it was 2008. 2008. They warned me about a certain guy, and they basically asked me to watch the video, The Silent Scream. I watched that, and I said, "No, I can't. I can't deal with this. I can't do this. This is blatant murder in many cases now. You know, I won't get into it anymore. I won't get into that. That's their platform. Lie, false witness. That's all they do nonstop. They false witness. They go out there and lie to the camera, right in front of the camera. The whole world can see. Not only American people in our country, and some of the most dumbest accusations you can ever imagine, along with their lawfare and malicious prosecution, taking down people, spying on a other campaign, and doing all. They did it. They did it. Set up. What do you call it? Crime scenes, staged crime scenes. You know, bringing all those. You know, delivering all those documents. You know, to Mar-a-Lago to set them up. Right. Setting up that. What do you call that? Ops mission on Mar-a-Lago. Setting up the TFR where it's no longer provides adequate protection for the former president. Going in there with plain clothes, like with collar shirts, not revealing who they are, not revealing their identity, right? Concealing weapons. You know what I mean? So that's why Bongino's going to leave. That's probably one of the main reasons Bongino's going to leave. They set that president up to be murdered. They set it up. That's like a what do you call that? Assault operation, where you set somebody up, you put them in the kill box, right? That's what they did. But thank God that President Trump wasn't there that day, right? He wasn't there that day. They even had a lawyer. Trump had a lawyer. I believe her name is Christina Bobb. She's actually a staff judge advocate for the Marine Corps. She's actually a staff judge advocate. She's a lawyer, right? She was one of President Trump's lawyers. They told her to stand out in the parking lot. They waved a warrant, a fraudulent warrant, right in her face about 10 feet away, and told her to go wait out in the parking lot. And then they staged a crime scene. So who delivered those documents, right? National Defense Information, right? We know what they did. They know what they did. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what they did. So now I'm not trying to add to or take away things from our holy scriptures, but so this really caught my attention. Monosaeus, right? The oldest son of Joseph. Remember Joseph? Remember what he's basically provided the expert knowledge to keep that grain in those silos where they can have food for 7 years during the drought. And everybody was coming to them, right? And made the pharaohs the richest. Remember the pharaohs, they had the technology. They had the technology. Now we're seeing what's underneath the pyramids, right? The great pyramids over in Egypt, right? We're seeing the technology beneath the pyramids. So when you start compiling all this information, I think it's very, very interesting, to say the least. So, yeah, of the 12 tribes, Manasseh, one tribe, and Joseph, the other tribe. Remember, Manasseh was blessed to be a great nation, a great, you know, great leader in the world, and then Ephraim was too. But I don't know, if you don't uphold your covenant, right? You don't uphold your covenant, it's not going to be, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not false witness against thy neighbor, lie about other people, commit perjury. That's what they do every day. They read the scripts. They still read the scripts. And I do believe that MAGA has a very high potential of winning a class action lawsuit against these people, because they have caused a lot of harm, and a lot of this stuff is targeted, against others because they may have a different opinion or belief than they do, right? So, yes. So, Article 4, Section 4 again. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm definitely not a constitutional lawyer, but it's very plain in language. The United States shall guarantee to each state in this union a republican form of government and ensure against invasion and against domestic violence. So, against invasion. So, if we know they got the evidence already, President Trump telegraphed it again. 25 million people they brought in the country from insane asylums, prisons, you know, jails, whatever, and they brought them into our country. Murderers. What was it? 13,000 murderers or something like that? And 50% of them had murdered at least more than one person. Think about that. They knowingly brought these people into our country for their own personal benefit because they thought, remember the electronic ballot, right? We talked about that tonight. So, what is that source reference? So, we can source reference all of this stuff. It's nothing new. Nothing new, at least not for me. I've been talking about this for years now. So, let me go refresh Rumble real quick. Yeah, a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are angry. They didn't get to hear. The reason why I think a lot of people are angry because they thought he was just going to come right out with it. And, you gotta prioritize OPSEC, Operation Security. You can't telegraph to the enemy or adversaries what we're going to do. Remember, they have allies too, working for them to try to take down our country. We got insiders, people that crept in unawares, right? Crept in unawares, working directly for Trump or indirectly in one way, shape, or form or the other. In our government, out our government. They're working against them. Why? Because there's trillions of dollars still at stake for them, and they've lost a lot of money because they're used to ripping off the American taxpayer for trillions of dollars every single year. Every single year. Trillions of dollars buys a lot of people. Trillions of dollars buys a lot of bad people, right? See, we have to think about the situation the president is in. So the POTUS speech, President Trump's speech tonight, it was a speech, and it was also a SITREP, a situation report on far as how our economy stands, as far as our national security stands, and what basically he's going to have to do to maintain that, to keep it like that way. right? To make America safe again, make America strong again, make America wealthy again, right? Remember all those cheers we gave the president? We almost memorized that closing speech at every rally, right? So he's reassuring people what he's doing, right? And who's trying to block him? Criminal obstructionists are trying to block the president. So they don't want what they don't want. They don't want the president, right, to take care of business against murderers so they don't murder again, right? They voted, the entire party voted no to stop the murders. They voted no to stop the murders. They voted to allow the murders to keep going. Why? That just basically tells us who they are. They don't have another idea. They're going by their special interests and their large donors, right? Lobbyists. They're going by what they're telling them. They're allowing these major large corporations, these lobbyists, these lawyers for these corporations to write the bills for them. That's the reason why they don't even care to read them. They're paid to allow them to write their own bills, right, to enrich themselves. And that's the reason why they don't go up. They don't even read the bills anymore. There was a thing that President Trump was trying to pass, which is like a law that gives everyone, to include the American citizens, 3 days to view the proposed bills or resolutions so we can say whether we're for them or not. At least we know what they are going to be in those bills or resolutions. No, how is that constitutional at all to begin with? See, that's another thing. We got corruption in all three branches of government, from the federal government down all the way down to the local level. That's an understatement. That's a lot of cleaning up to do. It's not like just RH, you got clean up on aisle one. No, we're talking about not just aisle one and that one particular, for example, grocery store or whatever. We're talking about every grocery store. If we're talking about cleaning up the aisles in grocery stores, we're talking about there's a lot of mess on a lot of aisles, and they still haven't straightened it out yet. Multiple states, multiple countries. There's a lot of problems going on still, even, and the Congress is criminally obstructing the appointees from getting in these positions so we can have a viable and capable government. If they're blocking thousands of appointees. So, it's crazy. I can't believe how much power that these people have taken over, and allowing communism, socialism to creep in, right? That's antithetical to the U.S. Constitution, period. So that gives them the power. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to confiscate all our private property. And the government decides for us who can actually have a business. And we already know who put that together, in part, before he left office. And that sure wasn't Donald Trump. It sure wasn't President Trump. When President Trump entered office in January 20th of 2017, President Trump wasn't the former president to January 20th of 2017. All roads lead there. Okay, so just like Operation Desert Storm, we were at Desert Shield, just protecting, make sure they didn't expand territory, take over other oil fields, right? Okay, so, and that lasted a long time. I don't think this is going to last quite that long, because the verifiable threat that the Intel has. They've given the president the best Intel picture you can see, actually really detailed Intel now. And they need to get other people back in there. I kind of like lost confidence with what's his name, Ratcliffe. I lost confidence with him because remember that report, foreign interference report 138, executive order 13848 was supposed to be due on the president's desk by 45 days after the election, which would have been around December 18th of 2020. You know when that report got to the president? After they certified it on January 6th. The very next day after certification, they released it, right? What are you going to do then? Report on foreign interference, right? That was an executive order. It was a lawful order to have on the president's desk so the White House counsel and everybody can review it, right? And see who interfered. Okay, so I want to draw people's attention to Fulton County, really close. Refutation of Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's false election claims. Okay, from Voter GA. Go check it out. Just do a Google search. Refutation of Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's false election claims. Okay, it's 18 pages long. Just read the initial summary. Okay, they subverted people, the objectors, on J7. They had to have an evacuation and subvert those people to give them that subversion letter that the deep state helped the Secretary of State of Georgia to write up. Okay, so they had two plans. Plan A, to block the president from his offer of 10,000 to 20,000 National Guard troops to secure the Capitol so the objectors can read off all the evidence. If that failed, see what they wanted to do. They wanted to immediately accuse President Trump of an insurrection, right? They lied. They do that all the time. You can see right through their lies. What was Plan B? Plan B was actually to call in a bomb scare so they can have the evacuation so they can subvert the objectors. Who are the objectors? Those that objected to certifying the election based on all the evidence that they had received thus far on J6. Before J6, the joint session, separate chambers happened, right? These people had the evidence, and their job was to basically have a bipartisan investigation. I think it was 60 days, whatever, and look into the allegations, right? And then they were going to basically go further to see whether they're going to certify it or not, or have another election, right? So their whole prerogative was to ensure that Trump did not get the boots on the ground to secure the Capitol, so they could subvert the objectors. And if Trump did get the boots on the ground, that's what they had Plan B for. Plan B is the reason why they had the pipe bomber. They were going to call in a bomb scare to do what? To evacuate out the Congress before the certification occurred, to subvert the objectors. There you have it. Plan A and Plan B. You know, I'm not the smartest cookie in a jar, right? I've already figured that out maybe 2 months after J6 of 2021. Already figured it out. They basically went out there and told us what they did. These people have to be held accountable. They overthrew our government. And anybody that even says anything otherwise, they were falsely imprisoning. And judges All three branches of government were part of that. Remember? The J6 Unselect Committee? Remember them? Think about how many people have died because of these people's corruption, criminal corruption I'm talking about. I'm not talking about uh, some jaywalking offense or something like that, right? Real crimes. Real crimes. Okay, so it's already 11 o'clock p.m. No, I don't know. So 25 million, let's see here. It was a SITREP, a situation report. It's kind of like a state of the union, right? The state of our union, right? Of all 50 states. So let me finish up the idea of those Commonwealth, like states or whatever you call them in Canada. Yeah. You go back to history, that they belong. If they want to belong, remember what they're given. They're not going to be they're not going to be under a monarchy anymore, right? So some people might think that's good for them. Those Canadians that think that's good for them, then stay where you're at. If you don't like your own sovereignty, your own independence, and you decide what you do with your own resources on your own, in your own Commonwealth state or whatever you call them, we call our states, right? So that's a republic. So each state has two U.S. senators. So even states with a smaller population, like say, for example, Canada, say the population of Rhode Island, for example. Obviously, there's a lot more people in California than there are in Rhode Island, for example, but each one has two senators to represent them in our Congress. They call it, I guess, the upper house, right? So, anyways, that's to protect the minorities. People have been bamboozled so much they don't even understand this. You know what I mean? That's what the founders intended to do. So each state is its own sovereign, like country, sovereign, independent. Each state has its own capital, right? So, anyways, if they come over to America and become the 51st, 52nd, and 53rd state, yes, we're going to welcome them with open arms. And we're going to still be friends with our friends up north, too, that don't want to do that, right? But people, we should be sovereign as individuals, too. Our unalienable rights given to us by God, right? So, yes, I think we'd all get along just fine, and share what we have together. There's, I won't go through the whole thing, but anyways, these people need to be held accountable, and I understand it takes a long time, and there's a lot of obstruction in all three branches of government, all the way down to the local levels. So we got so they've sunk their claws in, right? And their tentacles are far reaching everywhere. And so I know it kind of sounds like a cop out, right? So, anyways, we're going to have to stop the drugs flowing in. I mean, if we have threats from foreign adversaries and they're allowing this, they've been basically facilitating and directing the all this stuff to come into our country has killed hundreds of thousands of our people. Now, those people in Congress that voted no, every one of them are aiding and abetting the enemy. And they better watch. I'm not threatening anything with any type of lawlessness or anything or not. That I advise them to actually get out, crack open the Constitution and actually read, especially Article 4, Section 4. Their what was it, the 14th Amendment, the insurrection, 14th Amendment, Section 3, I believe it is. I can't remember. But their little insurrection deal set up, Capitol Hill set up, it failed. We already know. We already know what y'all did, right? We already got the evidence. We got the paper. We got even the destruction of the paper. We have it all. President Trump has it all. So, okay, so I covered pretty much everything. So the president's speech tonight was basically a situation report on the status of our country. And he's basically prioritizing Operation Security to help keep our men and women in uniform active, and those that are covert operatives in plain clothes, keep them safe, right? Keep them safe. So you don't go out there. What do? Like I said, if there's a football game going on, and you got one team out on the field and you got the other team out on the field, you got their opponents out on the field. You think that the defense coach is going to basically call the plans to the offense on the opponent team? Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to line up just like this, okay? We're gonna tell you where your holes are. We're not going to guard that person that close, and no, the coach isn't going to call out the plays right to the opponent's team. So, and remember, who's the one that gives the go? Not us. Not us armchair bandits or whatever you want to call us. I'm sitting in an armchair right now, lazy boy recliner type thing, myself right now. I'm not an armchair quarterback, you know. I'm not the one the pilots are saying, okay, we're over the target area, right? When I said jump now, somebody thought I was talking about jumping. I mean, that's so. It's people that don't even come in and judge you for. They don't even know you, right? They come in and judge you like I'm some type of crazy person. If you've ever parachuted like I have twice, I jumped static line twice, and you just don't stand up and go to the door, and jump out whenever you feel like it. You get caught with your pants down or whatever. You know what I mean? Or get shot up before you even hit the ground. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's people out there, shut up, RH, you don't know what you're talking about. Right. Well, okay, there's a lot of things I don't know what I'm talking about. You're right about that for those that, but this subject, I know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of moving parts in these type of operations, right? But I'll say one thing right now. If Tina Peters dies in the custody of that governor of Colorado, right? You can cover it up. You can think you're being covered up. You think you might have the Norm Eisens protecting you and all that stuff, right? You got all your lawyers. You got billions and billions of dollars behind you and your protection to basically attack our president and basically keep a innocent person in prison for 9 years because you don't want it exposed. Dude, if that lady dies, you should be. I don't care if you're a governor or whatever. If you're a accomplice to a murder, you're accessory to murder, right? Because you knew she was basically she was she's sick, she's not well. You're going to be held accountable. You're going to be held accountable. I don't care what position you serve. What do these governors think they're, especially the ones that help allow the invasion to come in, especially through San Diego, right? Through that southern border over there? They turned a blind eye while all those people were invading our country and coming through that part of entry, that location of entry, right? South of San Diego. We already know. We already got surveillance video. Well, that's my right as governor. That's my right. Really? Your right to commit, you be accessory to thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of murders, deaths? You got blood on your hand, dude. I don't care what position you believe you are. No one's above the law. No one's above the law. Even those out there trying to criminally obstruct the president of the United States from implementing his constitutional duties that he was elected to do. So I think there's a lot of people out there. There's going to be a lot of gnashing of the teeth. Oh, he got to do this. This guy was indicted 4 or 5 times, right? A bunch of. I've never seen the stupidity in all my life. I mean, these people are so power hungry and so power mad, and they got themselves so rich. It's like a black hole. They don't ever get enough, right? It's like a black hole. They never get enough. So remember, if their foundation, remember they voted their delegates in 2012. They voted. They actually removed God in Jerusalem from their platform. They had to go in and have another vote with the delegates to reinstate God in Jerusalem back into their platform. Remember, they're pro-death. They're the opposite of pro-life. Remember, they lie pretty much every time they come on the television screen and talk about, well, I'll give you a prime example. Trump was responsible for the shutdown. What? That's so amateurish, so elementary. I mean, an elementary kid can understand what they did, right? So, pro-death, pro-false witness. Should I go on? He was a liar and a murderer from the very beginning. That's their father. They support lies and murder, then they're basically, you might as well say, they're working on the wrong team. They're working on the wrong spiritual and physical team. Okay, so there you have it. There you have it. Okay, so good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream. I hope everyone understood the message, and I hope people aren't that disappointed. And let me say this again: please pray for our country, that God puts a hedge of protection around our country, our president, our government, and those are on the wrong side of the. Let's just say those that built their foundation on sand, right? It's going to dissolve. It's just going to basically flush away, and you're going to be exposed. So I recommend those that are sitting on the sidelines still thinking which way they should go. I would suggest you become a whistleblower. I've been talking about this for a couple years now. Before Trump got back in office, I've been talking about this for a few years now. I know there's people out there, they're a lot smarter than myself. They're in a higher level position than myself. They know more than I do as far as professional, as far as military and everything is concerned. Why are you still sitting on the sidelines for? You know, those that are sitting on the sidelines, I don't care what political party they're affiliated with. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever, conservative, or no political affiliation at all. I don't care if you're sitting on the sideline and you have privileged information that you know that something has happened, it's caused a deaths plural, death and deaths plural in our country, and something's about to happen again. I mean, what are you going to do? Well, those are our allies. Well, excuse me. Is the U.S. Constitution written for our allies? Yeah, so it's part about treaties and all that kind of thing, right? And trade deals and all that stuff in the Constitution, right? Some of these people are actually aligned with the Death to America cult. They're aligned with them. And some people are, you got to watch out because some people going to leak the information of these operations. Leak it out there to try to throw the president of the United States off balance. Those people, they need to be arrested immediately. This is serious business here. What's going on? The president of the United States is trying to give back the power of our government back to the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, right? Trying to give it back to us, the power. Give us back our independence. Give us back our financial sovereignty again, okay? So pay very close attention to the tribes in Revelation chapter 7, okay? And the tribes back in Genesis chapter 49. And remember the covenant. Or the Ark of the Witness. Remember what was put inside there. Without those laws, right? You cannot have a civil society. I don't care where you live. I like somebody to argue with me about that. So, okay, so good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream, and God bless. Thank you. And remember, in God we trust.